The meeting is order. The meeting is called to order.
We start with flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call?
Yes. Janet Lloyd.
Here.
Andy Hayden.
Here.
Maggie Weimer. Here. Mari Perot.
Here.
And Jenny Requay is excused.
All right. Do we have any?
Yes, we do. I just received one earlier in March and one today. Hello, Board of Directors and Superintendent Frank. I am a district resident and I recently signed up to volunteer. Thank you to staff for helping me get set up. I'm writing as a public comment to propose a simple governance housekeeping rule. When an agenda item is tabled, the deferral should be time certain and have a clear process for returning to the agenda. The goal is to reduce staff workload, preserve every director's right to raise concerns, and prevent legally required policy updates from stalling indefinitely. Proposed standing rule, draft language. 1, date certain deferral required. If the board votes to defer or table an agenda item, the motion must specify a return date no later than the next regular meeting unless the board votes otherwise. 2, sponsor responsibility for revisions. If the deferred is based on a director's objection to or request for changes, that director or designee must submit written proposed amendments or fix to the superintendent board clerk within 21 calendar days or by the agenda packet deadline for the return meeting, whichever comes first. 3, automatic re-agenda plus vote safeguard. If the sponsor does not submit proposed amendments by the deadline, the item is automatically placed on the agenda on the return date for action on the original version. Any director may move to proceed. 4, extensions only by board vote. The board may extend the deadline only by a majority vote, and the motion must include a new specific return date. 5, information request option to reduce tabling. If a director needs additional information before voting, the director can submit a written information request to the superintendent within 48 hours after the meeting. Staff provides a written response for the next packet without automatically tabling the item unless the board votes to defer with a date certain return. Please place this proposal on the upcoming agenda as an action item. If adopted, it will make deliberation more efficient while still protecting minority viewpoints and due diligence. Thank you for considering this and for the work you all do. Sincerely, Tyler. So I would request that the board think about this request. I'm not sure if everyone saw the email, that if you want this on the agenda to let us know for the next meeting and we can place these items on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay. Oh, so he emailed all of us, right? Okay.
I
did not see that. It was today, though.
No, this came out March 2nd.
That did? It's quite a while ago. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, that's the right email.
Okay.
So we did not put it on the agenda because I was waiting to see if you want it on the agenda. If you want it on the agenda, then we can place it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
Received this letter today. Hello, I'm writing this letter as I feel it's important for awareness and public transparency. After hearing about the Center for Inspired Learning being talked about in some of the meetings lately, I went to their website to learn more about it and decide for myself on what I think about it. As I was looking through the website, I wanted to learn about who is behind the organization. When I went to the About Us page, I found that Kathy Hayden is the board president of this organization. Personally, I found this to be shocking because it has never been disclosed in any meeting I have listened in on or have been a part of, and she is related to a school board member. I find this to be a conflict of interest that can potentially be personally and financially beneficial. In addition, it feels deceitful to the community that this has not been disclosed. I encourage everyone to review the Center for Inspired Learning website and make your own informed decisions. I look forward to attending the next informal public meeting to talk more about it. Thank you. That is all the correspondence.
Okay.
And the agendas are here now. Sorry, I forgot them. Thank you, Mr. Fowler. If anyone needs them.
And if you look at the agenda, and if it's you want to speak to an agenda item, you just put your name on that paper. If it's a general comment, then you put it on the general comment paper.
Okay, so we're moving on to item F. We need approval for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Student representative?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. All right, item G, we need a motion to approve the regular agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Student representative?
Yes.
We need a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. All right. My favorite part, district reports. PSE?
Let's see. First of all, we had appreciation week last week and the week before that, but it was fabulous. Participated by all, and we have a special thank you. There were some very inspiring and lovely, lovely notes that went out on Friday. They were beyond fantastic, and we appreciated them very much. And then I did learn through the grapevine and the conversation that we have Mackenzie to thank for that. Thank you very much for that. We also want to give a shout out and kudos to our groundskeeper and our facility lead for maintaining their pumping of the puddles.
Thank you, PJ. Any questions? The puddles, I know, the lakes. Yeah. All right, DEA?
Right, so we're coming up on spring break now, and I think for students, staff, and everyone else, it's that last little push. But we can almost taste it now. We just finished up with conferences. I know in the K, conferences were well attended in person. In the high school, they were not quite as attended at our roundtables, but I know we had a lot of success with parent phone calls this year. Just a lot of turnout with that, so it's good to hear from parents. Ms. Sanchez brought a bunch of student artwork out at the roundtable conferences, and some community members came in just to check out student art, and that was really nice to see, even for some of us who just don't get to see it in the art room. And then the Science Club just did a blood drive on campus, spearheaded by Mr. Bass and his students. So it was great to see people out donating blood. And then I just wanted to give a quick shout out to John. I'm seeing him in the halls almost every day, going around to classes, and it's just, I've had John in my room, and it's just pleasant to see community members coming into our classes and seeing what we do every day, and we appreciate it.
I'm having a ball doing it.
Any questions? Thank you, Oliver. All right, student reps.
Okay, so we don't have a lot going on, but like Mr. Rankin said, we just had the blood drive. The Science Club helped set that up. I'm pretty sure we had it was 15 people who donated, and 8 of them being new donors. So there's that. And then spring sports just started up. Baseball has a game today, actually. And they haven't had a lot because of the weather being so icky that a lot of games have been canceled. And SCCLA is going to be working with the grounds to help fix up all the gardens around the school, just to have some community service. And I think that's all that we have besides student of the month.
For February, ASB chose the theme of perseverance for our Student of the Month award. Perseverance does not just
But louder.
Perseverance does not just mean experiencing obstacles, but more importantly, overcoming those obstacles and thriving despite them. Our choice for Student of the Month overcomes constant challenges that many of us may never have to face. More importantly, however, She lives her life with joy. She brings happiness to those around her with a fantastic sense of humor. She is clever, bright, always solving problems. We are very proud of our ASB February Student of the Month, Grace Needland.
It's very cool. Thank you. Thank you, that's awesome. Okay, high school's up.
One of these days, I'm just gonna say, they talked about it, PJ talked about it, and they talked about it.
Yeah, nothing.
I got it. Actually, though, I do have something. So, excuse my voice. Spring assessments are scheduled for between April 29th through May 19th. That includes the science state assessment, ELA, SBA, math, and ELA, SBA. Too many initials, goodness gracious. And then our iReady diagnostics. So those are scheduled. We're working on refining the daily schedule to make sure everything's covered and everybody's where they're supposed to be. Invitations for senior presentations to the panelists was sent out last week. So presentations take place May 18th and May 19th. If you're interested and did not receive the invitation, please let either Judy or I know, and we can get that information to you. In addition to our continued focus on academic vocabulary and adult to student relationships through our school improvement plan, we have identified a need to increase opportunities for small group targeted instruction. So we've got a few of our teachers that are working with our Continua consultants to implement and put those into their practice. So we're working on that. And then our FAFSA completion rate. So we've got 9 out of 21 of our seniors who have completed their FAFSA. We have 1 more who should be completing theirs soon. That will get us to 47%, which is above the state average of 44%. So that's it for the high school.
Remember the FAFSA, which was terrible.
I do have a couple of questions. In the small group, is that, do you have a sense yet whether that will be, what areas that will be in?
Right
What that
now,
might look like?
Mr. Ross and Mr. Gorham are really focusing on the small group instruction. Mrs. Wright is also doing small group pullouts in her classroom as well. So she's already doing small groups, and then within those small groups, she's doing small groups. We have Christina, who is pulling students to the library to work with them in small groups on things that they need to work on. But right now, it's primarily math and special education.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Any questions? No, okay. All right, K through 8?
All right, conferences already mentioned, but we had an average attendance of 93% for the elementary. That's up preschool through 5th grade. And about 86% attendance for meetings in middle school that were scheduled with families. So they scheduled meetings. 80% of those parents were able to make the meeting. And again, they also had some phone conversations that took place. The staff are working hard implementing the new supplemental reading program. They're coming together, both the certificated and classified staff, to make those small groups work efficiently, effectively. We met on Friday, reviewed how things were going, and then worked together to put together some manipulatives for them to use in their small groups. So that's going very well. On Thursday, a consultant from iReady walked through the classrooms with Shauna and I to observe math instruction. We received a lot of positive feedback, and also resources were also shared with us to help promote what we're already doing, but to make a couple of things a little more clear for students, and also reminded of some of the resources that are on the website for teachers to use in implementing the program. PUD is in the building off and on, coming in with lessons on electrical safety, exploring how circuits work. They did the light bulb circuit lesson last week in a couple of the classrooms. And upcoming lessons will also look at hydropower and how that works. Interim assessments have started in the elementary. This will hopefully prepare students on how to use the platform that the state assessment uses during testing, how to use the tools, how to use, for example, if a calculator is available, how to use that, how to highlight, how to go back into the text, because there's multiple screens that they use. And so hopefully that will assist the students in making it less stressful during the assessment. And it also provides feedback to our teachers on areas that they might need some more support. Scholastic Book Fair took place, and thank you to Maggie and her slew of volunteers who helped make that happen. There was enough raised that each student in preschool through 8th grade received a free book. So that's really exciting for students to, if they don't have the money, they know at least I get to come in and get a free book anyway, They didn't get a toy, we put those to the side. But everyone was able to get a free book, and I know how much work that takes, but how exciting it is to do. So thank you for that work. On Friday, we recognized Down Syndrome Awareness Day by decorating socks and putting them in the cafeteria, and then wearing crazy socks around the school to support our students. And many lessons took place in the classrooms as well. And to encourage participation in reading at home, our Read Aloud night is tomorrow night here in the elementary library. But this year, one of the teachers thought of doing a mystery reader. So kind of a take on the show, The Mystery Singer, or what is it called?
Mass Singer.
Mass Singer, sorry. So books were read, and they put a cover on the face. And there are 3 that will be shared in the classrooms for students to hear. And then on Friday at our RAD assembly, students get to guess who each of the readers were. So just kind of to inspire students to come to our Read Aloud night, but also to read at home with their family. So if anyone is interested, 6 to 7 o'clock tomorrow night. On Thursday, the 5th graders will be attending the symphony with their recorders to attend that traditional assembly or field trip that they always take. We also recognized, I don't even know how many students, honestly, I didn't count, but middle school students for students who passed all their classes, students who had exemplary attendance, students who met their goals on iReady, students who did not have any referrals. So we're trying to promote, support students that are doing the right thing and working hard at school. And again, our assessments will start in April, and hopefully we stay on track. So we meet the deadlines. That's it for the elementary.
Is Read Aloud night in here?
Yes, it's in the library. We have an informational time for parents to attend. Some information that teachers have put together, just strategies for reading at home with their students, and then they'll join us back in here for Read Aloud night.
Any questions for K through 8 or? All right, moving on, superintendent.
All right.
Wait, did I skip special programs?
You did, didn't you?
Sorry. Cindy,
You really
okay.
don't want to hear
Rewind.
what's been right
I
now.
do.
I didn't go through my checklist.
I'm so sorry. I know.
That's okay. They get a break
Sorry.
from my voice,
Yeah.
and I get a drink of water.
Okay.
That's
Do
it.
you really want to hear it?
Yes.
For March, we crossed over into the 25.7%. We have 8 new evaluations pending, so that number could go up. That's between Child Find and our student intervention team referrals. Part of the issue is our SPED population, our SPED special education number is going up while our enrollment is going. So that's part of the impact on the percentage, unfortunately. But the good thing is we're serving kids that need the help. So we're doing a really good job at Child Find.
Which that's important.
We're beating our Child Find number.
It's really important to get that early intervention in
Absolutely.
place.
We've gotten a few students this year that have exited speech services.
Yes, they have.
So that no longer need speech services.
And I think also an important point to make is that we also have students that we've had to have earlier meetings. Every year we have a meeting to look at the IEP goals, see where the student is and reaching those goals. And we actually had one just last month because a student had already reached their goals. They are making so much progress with the additional help, with special education help, that they've taken off flying. So that's really exciting when we see that the program is helping students make, have better achievement.
Can I also point out that, when you hear us go, oh, when we hear the numbers, it is not about those special ed kids or their families. We love you guys totally. It's that it affects our funding so seriously. That's where our disappointment is, not in having you all here, but in what we can do. Thank you, Janet.
They're providing better funding
They're-
now
yes.
for special ed than they used to.
So there isn't the same cap that there used to be, so it doesn't have as big an impact on us as it did in the past.
But it does in terms of, when we write an IEP and we know a child needs support, the staffing for that support isn't always there. So, that's where it does affect us financially. And I just wanted to be really clear with the public that it's not our sped students or families that we're
It's not the
disappointed with.
numbers, it really isn't.
Just the funding, yeah. What is the cap now? Do we know?
They removed the cap. It's
They did
fully
remove
funded.
They
Yeah.
removed it.
It's,
So it's really not, and it, regardless of what the cap is, we are going to serve our students. When the cap was
Oh,
at,
yeah.
what was it, at 13?
16%.
16%, and we are above that. That's not how we determine if a student qualifies or not, and it has no bearing on it. But it is nice that we are getting, receiving funding at that level so that we can provide the support that our students need. And so.
Any questions? I'm jumping around. Okay. Back to Tracy.
Okay, so superintendent report. We've been updating our policies. In January, we updated policy 1210, which is for the policy for the annual organization meeting. And it's basically for the WASDA chair. We are supposed, with the new policy that we adopted in January, we missed that it said that we now should be electing officers at the first regular meeting in December in non-election years, and newly elected, basically in January.
Yeah.
We should be electing our WASDA chairs. We've done it in the past in when? June, May?
June.
June.
Yeah, it was June in even numbered years, and now the new policy says even numbered years at the same meeting when you're electing the other officers.
So that's December, actually. So the question is, we will need to move then the election up from June to probably next month.
For the WASDA rep.
Yes.
Okay.
So we need to do it all at the same time.
Oh, gosh, okay.
And we're just like, oh, we all missed that as we were reading it. So that was just something I wanted to point out. So if you have questions, I propose we put it on the April meeting. America 250, America is turning 250 years old. And so a couple weeks ago, I met with the town of Darrington and there was many community organizations at this meeting, looking at the summer calendar for the community and events for the community coming up, and wondering how we can get the city energized and ready for the celebration of America's birthday, and how can the school get involved in it. And so I'm working with Ms. Sanchez and then the town of Darrington on maybe doing a fire hydrant project where the kids will help paint the fire hydrants around town in some kind of festive way. Having the older kids help design the project, and then the younger kids, maybe they would just paint the hydrant, the one solid color, and the older students would go out and then paint a design on it. So that's something that we're working with the community on. Also some other arts and craft things that we can maybe put around the community to, celebrate the 250th birthday. Also looking at how can we, floats. In the day, we all did floats. That gives me like, oh, can't kids falling off. But we're thinking of ways that maybe we can decorate a bus and have the bus drive through with streamers and celebrating with kids waving out the window. A little bit safer, but not really.
Candy?
Maybe they can throw candy. They would probably have their, no, we'd have to. So we're looking at ways to kind of celebrate with the community on those events. Snow Owl Library visited the 6th through 12th grade students this last week, and they're going to be back again for a Bites for Books program that they're running for the middle school through high school students. And they can, through reading books, they can earn some gift cards for local restaurants. So we're trying to do that collaboration with the community. I'm also working on a report for the board that will be ready next month on how does Darrington compare with other school districts with similar demographics. We started gathering data from several schools in our area and researching what curriculum they use in the classroom. We're comparing attendance rates to our scores, attendance rates from those districts, free and reduced levels along with special ed rates. So we're trying to gather a lot of information with like-sized schools to share that information and gathering information on if they're being successful, what are they doing that we can incorporate into our school as well, and looking at different possibilities. There is an initiative that I'm going to ask counselors to look into called Handle with Care. And this is a program that will be probably starting in Snohomish County, that if there's an incident in our community that involves children of school age, the officers will contact the school so that we are then ready and able to support students when they return to school. Sometimes we don't even know what's happened in the community, and students come to school and they've just gone through maybe a traumatic event in their family, and we don't know. And so this way we are able to then have the counselor ready to meet with the students and support them in whatever way is appropriate. I am in the process of looking through a parental complaint, and I will keep the board informed of that as I move through the complaint process. Spring baseball numbers, we have about 17 out for baseball, 11 out for fast pitch. We had 9 middle school basketball players, they're still playing, and then 16 middle school wrestlers. So, yeah, a few kids out there. Update with facilities, the bus barn, driveway, or entrance point, whatever we want to call it. I really want to thank the town of Darrington for collaborating with us on getting a fix for that entry point. It's kind of confusing because we're really the only ones that use that area. We forget where property lines are, like who's responsible for what. It is city property, so we are collaborating with them for helping us get the equipment in there to do the work, and then we're supplying the gravel. So it's kind of a great process. I'm really excited to have that underway. Thank you to Dan and Jenny for working together on getting that done.
I must say that I drove over it this morning and what a nice drive.
And we're not done. That's just, there's more to do, but that's a start. So yeah, we're working on the outbuildings. Oh my gosh, what are they called? Were they dugouts? Thank you, the dugouts and that. There's baseball sheds and softball sheds for equipment. Really working on getting those spruced up for the season. We do have capital projects money still available. We're waiting to see our drainage project, both on the playground of the elementary and out here in the front where we've had our drainage issues. So we are looking at getting bids for that and deciding what way is the best way to go to deal with that issue. We have grants for an ADA bathroom that Ms. Christofferson is working with a team on to facilitate that. Our field lighting project is still we're waiting for baseball season to get over, and that will be moving right along. We're also putting in for another grant for our hot water tank. We did not receive the grant that we had first put in, but we're applying for another one that will address the hot water tank in the elementary and some of the smell issues that we're having in this building. And then our boilers. We're still working on the boilers, but we are keeping a finger on it and really putting the pressure on everyone to get it fixed and get it fixed right. So we are continuing to work with everyone on that project. I think that's it.
Okay. Any questions?
Okay. Got a lot going on, it's awesome. Okay, item I, financial and enrollment reports.
The enrollment chart or the summary is on page 26. Comparison to last year's on page 27. You can see we're down about 10 from this time last year. And then the chart is on page 28, which shows the unfortunate decline in our enrollment that we're experiencing this year. So we're now below the red line as far as our current enrollment for March. But if you look at the average on that, it's over in the key on the right, we're still at 424. And we budgeted at 418. So because we're funded on the average, the average is still above that budget level, but we're obviously headed in the wrong direction. But we'll keep an eye on it and see where we end up. And I'm going to talk about it later with the budget as far as how that impacts our budget projections for next year. So that's enrollment. And then the fund balance trend is on page 29. That's following that typical trend that we expect to see over the course of the year, and is lower than previous years as planned. And we're back down to kind of where our normal fund balance is after having a few higher years because we had the ESSER money in fund balance and then we spent that down. I did want to talk a little bit more about fund balance this month because I have heard the word slush fund used. So I just want to make sure everyone knows we don't use the S word in school finance. So there's no slush fund. Believe me, I wish that money existed. But if people think we have that, I wonder if maybe they're thinking of the fund balance. And I know we talk about it a lot in these meetings, but it's really important for people to understand that we have to have that money, not only in case of some emergencies that might come up, but also just for cash flow. So our revenue doesn't come in, evenly over the course of the year. It kind of comes in like this, where we get those tax collections in October and April. But the state, they're aware of that. So they know we have those tax collections in those months. So they reduce our apportionment payments in those months to kind of even it out. And also when they have budget issues, they have a tendency to push the apportionment payments into the summer because that's the different fiscal year for them. So that's kind of a budget strategy they've used in the past. So even our apportionment from the state doesn't come in equal increments. And so for those reasons, because we have months where we have lower revenue, we have to have that fund balance that provides the cash flow that we need to make payroll. So that's the reason that we have to have that, to make sure that we never are in a situation where we can't pay everyone. So just want to talk about that a little bit more and make sure everyone knows that. I also have on page 38 a chart. Tracy mentioned the boilers, which have been an ongoing challenge. But one thing I've heard recently too is that it was a bad idea to switch to electric boilers from diesel. So I wanted to make sure that everyone's aware that it's overall, we're not paying more. We've had these challenges with energy spikes, and so we're working on those. And when we get those figured out, our bills are going to be even lower. But when you compare to when we had diesel, because of the volatility of diesel prices, there were years when it was higher. So overall, I still say that it was a good decision because we're gonna have that stability now. And so I didn't mark it on this chart, but I looked at what we had used for diesel in the past and what diesel prices are right now, which we all know are extremely high. And we would be up around the 150,000 mark instead of a little over 120 for this year. So that really was part of that decision-making process, was to get away from the volatility of diesel. We also have requirements coming down about the clean buildings requirements, where we have to have, our buildings just have to be at a certain level of efficiency for energy use. And so that's something that I'm working on, and we use the Energy Star portfolio and all those kind of things. So we were looking forward to those requirements too. So there are multiple reasons for it, but I just want to talk about it so people don't think we just made this crazy decision and it actually is costing a lot more money and all of that kind of thing, because it's not. So, but we do have, when we can get this figured out as far as these energy issues, it's going to bring it down even lower. And that's what's nice about being on electric too, is because we don't have that market price of diesel to deal with. We can really see the energy savings that we make based on changing behaviors, changing settings, and things like that. So it's easier to see that progress that we're making. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a question. Now, would it be possible to get the codes for, on the outgoing checks and so on? There's about 8 different line items with different codes.
Are we talking about the warrant, the check summary, or?
Yeah, the check
Okay.
summary. Would it be
Yes.
possible to get the codes?
Oh, what the codes mean?
Yeah, what the codes
Yeah, that's
are.
the chart of accounts. I can send that to
Yes,
you.
if you could do that. We did some financial training last week, and
Oh,
it's
sure.
really opened my eyes on how deep the financials are in the school district, as far as, how many accounts are handled and so on. So if I ever get really bored on one of these rainy days.
I can send that to you.
Okay, good.
That was all I had.
Okay. All right, item J, public comments on agenda items.
Did everyone get a chance to sign up if they wanted to speak? Just because it was kind of, okay.
There's none.
Okay, and that's later on, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's 2. All right, then we're gonna move on to policy updates, old business. Did everybody have a chance to review these?
So I got a question.
Uh-huh.
So why was 5000P deleted?
Because it's the hiring of staff.
Yeah, that was just WASDA, just like all the updates they do, they decided. Usually when they delete one, it's because they've combined the language into the policy. That's
Somewhere else? or-
usually it's that same policy, or at least that's what I've seen pretty frequently. When there's like a procedure deleted, it's because they've put it into the policy of that same number.
Yeah, but I thought with the policy, then you had to have a procedure.
Oh.
You don't have to have procedures. It's there to clarify a process and how you're going to carry out the policy. But
Okay.
for this policy with the recruitment, selection, and evaluation of staff, for instance, the evaluation of staff, it's laid out in state law and then our CBAs. So I can see where a procedure would just be so redundant, and as you change, say, a CBA, an agreement with the union, and then you don't get it into the policy, I could see where there'd be a lot of conflicting language. So I
I was
think,
just wondering.
I know, we don't usually see one disagree.
Well, yeah, I think it's good when we have less paperwork.
And then any question about 3425? That came from the nurse, and it's straight from,
I had to look up what it
The nursing.
was. I thought that was,
Yeah.
very specific.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't have any questions on that.
Well, I will make a motion to pass policy 3425 and 5,000 and delete 5,000 feet.
Second. Student reps?
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Motion carries. All right, new business. Policy updates.
Yeah, just a few here, not quite as many, just a few, some revisions. You can see the changes are in red. So please read through those if you have any questions. And I don't think, the 3241 F2 and F1, we had gone through the classroom management discipline and corrective action earlier, but we didn't have this on there, and it's just a chart. And to be transparent, this is something that Cindy and I do use when looking at discipline for students, so we'd like to put it in there.
Yes.
And then oath of office, of course, this comes straight from WASDA. Can we just vote on this?
No, they just keep updating. And 1820P is another example of one where they're getting rid of the procedure.
Mhm.
So, and then board self-assessment. We can do that however we feel we want to, based on our policy. So please, if you have questions regarding these, as you look through them during the month, please let me know and I can work to answer them at any time.
And 6220, I assume, is based on inflation.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a change in the federal requirement for the threshold. So it went
Yeah.
from 10 to 15,000, I think. It should be.
thank goodness.
Yes.
There's not much you can get done.
Yeah. Makes it a little bit easier. But we don't buy a lot of stuff with federal money. We mainly pay people, the exception being food service.
Okay. That's some fun reads. All right. Moving on. Mackenzie, we got item N, budget development parameters. Oh, wait, nope, just kidding. I missed it. See, gotta read close. Tiny house.
Yeah, so we had talked last time about getting some more information about what we can do with the tiny house. So Cindy worked with Ray and got the specifications of it. It's about 8 feet by 28 feet. There's a loft at each end with a stairway and a ladder. It's triple axle, it's plumbed, it has 100 amp electric service. And so I think, there's more: bathroom, vanity, shower, toilet and sink, on-demand water heater, plumbed for propane oven and cooktop, but they're not installed. It's got a kitchen, sink and counters, LED lighting, and hardwood floors throughout, except for in the bathroom. And so, yeah, looking at comparable tiny houses, I'm guessing that the value is somewhere between 85 and 100,000. So that being such a big ticket item, I would recommend putting it on like a government surplus sales, like auction site. Like there's govdeals.com is one that's out there and we can look and see. I think even with the advertising that we have to do for surplus sales, we just don't normally get anyone. So I think to get the most that we can out of the tiny house, we need to have a bigger audience for that. So that would be my recommendation. And the money, when we sell it, it goes back into the general fund.
You need a motion?
No, just to let you know, and
It doesn't go back into the CTE fund?
just, it could be used for CTE, but
But
the general fund is the umbrella and CTE is within that. It doesn't, sometimes they have to go into like the capital projects fund or things
Okay.
like that. So it's in the general fund and then the district can decide where to
Okay.
use it.
Thank you.
The board could make the decision that they want all of it or a percentage of it to go back into the CTE program to continue the program but that's a discussion we would also need to have regarding where that funding should, the
Put
money
some
should
of
go.
it back in, because I think Ray's gonna do a bus next, right?
No, he's not. No, he's not.
We have a question for that.
When we first started the tiny house, we discussed possibly putting it out the archer range and using it as a rental. Has that been something that's not feasible at this point? Is that why it's not?
We discussed it last month.
meeting, yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, it's because there was no inspections done on it as it was being built. Ellen and I would have had to do inspections.
No.
So technically, it's not a licensed facility that we could put in and get it to pass through the building department.
Okay. Just housing is such a hard situation.
I know.
Always looking for something.
And that is why we initially were talking
Yes.
about that. But then, yeah, it didn't seem feasible.
And then the continued maintenance, upkeep of another facility, billing. There's a lot of pieces involved in that. So I think at the next meeting, we should have it on the agenda if you're ready. And if we can have it on the agenda again, and if you're not ready to make a decision, we can wait. But if we think we're ready for a vote, we need to have it, that it'll be an item that we would vote on.
I think it would be nice
Can
to
I-
do a little research on if something like this has been sold on that site before.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is there any way you guys can make a virtual, like a virtual inside of that thing and show it? I mean, some of us are dying to see that. We've like been walking around it.
Oh,
You
well,
just listed all this great stuff and a virtual showing of it would like enhance the sale of it as well, but maybe you could show that. to
Okay,
us that
student
has
reps.
never seen it.
Yeah.
we could set up a tour for staff and community at some point.
That's really nice
it is.
If we did that, we might get her.
Exactly. Post that. So we can put that on as an action item next month if you want, or since it's ready to.
I think so. It's just sitting there. Okay. All right, now item N.
So the first step, we're into budget season now. The legislature is done, but we're in this kind of in-between time where they finished their work, but OSPI now has to kind of implement that into their programs where they get the F203 ready. That's the program that I use to estimate revenue. And so the first step is always estimating our enrollment. That's what we plug into the F203 that uses the prototypical school model to tell us how much money those kids are going to generate. So in your packet on page 66 is just a piece of my enrollment estimate spreadsheet. So I do, you look at cohort survival, so for second graders this year, how many went on to become third graders the next year. So I do a look back on that for 10 years and then a 5-year and a 3-year. Since we're in declining enrollment and it's really in the last couple years that we're seeing that more, and this year especially, I used the 3-year because I feel like that's more accurate and it's going to be more of a conservative estimate. So the estimate based on that was 394.35 FTE, which stands for full-time equivalent. I rounded all those numbers down and it came up with 389. So with that difference in enrollment compared to this year, that's about $237,000 that we would be looking at cutting just due to enrollment decline. Totally separate from the levy cuts that we've been talking about that we'll have to put in the budget that could be reversed if the levy passes. So with that and some other items, we already negotiated raises for DEA for next year for 26-27. That was done last spring. So we need to be able to pay for that. We know our insurance is going up about $30,000. So those are just the things that I know so far. More information is going to come in with as different vendors that we work with let us know what their rates are gonna be for next year, and of course, everyone's dealing with inflation, so they're all going up. And then that in combination with the declining enrollment, that's just kind of the first step that we're looking at right now. Open to conversation about these enrollment numbers, but I honestly, I always try to be conservative with those numbers because we don't want to estimate high, issue contracts for teachers and other staff members, and then not have the kids show up, and then we're stuck with those contracts. So, and the next item, these really could probably be combined, is the certificated staffing. For all of the staffing for next year, again, being conservative, my recommendation is going to be to have a higher number of RIFs than what we think we'll actually have, just because we have to be careful to not have those contracts in place. We have a lot of unknowns with the levy, and even though I think this is a conservative estimate, it probably could be even more conservative because the uncertainty around the levy might drive more enrollment loss. I don't know. So we kind of have to see, but we also, to protect the district, need to make sure we're not making commitments that we won't be able to follow through on. So for certificated staffing, we have to let them know tentatively if we think that they're going to be RIFed by April 15th, and then the official notification by May 15th. For PSE staff, we have to let them know by the end of the school year, but of course we will let them know as soon as we have decided what's going to happen there. We already have a couple meetings scheduled for budget forums, so that we can have a back and forth with community about these things. And, you know, we've been talking about trying to have more of a conversation instead of just us sitting down and going through, you know, here's what we think we can cut, always trying to stay away from classrooms if we can, but to have more of that conversation, like, okay, what do you think we should cut? You know, what are some of those ideas that people have? And
a letter, I sent it to the board today, if you agree. I'll be sending a letter out to our families and to the community regarding when we're running the levy again and when we'll be holding community budget meetings.
Which is in August, right?
Well, the meetings are going to be held
No,
in
no,
April.
not the budget meetings.
The levy is in August.
August 4th.
Right. So there's 2 different nights in April. We'll have more, but just in April, we picked 2 days. One that will be at the library, one that will be at the community center, for people to come and share ideas on what they think we can maybe do to fill this gap.
And yeah, just again, you're going to hear me talk about it a lot, that, you know, on one hand, we have the levy cuts that will be reversed if the levy passes. And then on the other hand, we have these more normal cuts that are just from those fluctuations in enrollment and inflation, those types of things.
And I don't know if you've noticed, but several larger districts in our region are having the same type of discussions. They're also looking at less enrollment, less revenue. So they're having to have the same kind of budget talks that, you know, we have every spring. So we just need to try and communicate, like what Mackenzie said. There's the levy discussion, but then there's just normal, you know, cost of living issues that will have to be addressed separately. But now we're having to have them at the same time. And so trying to be as clear as possible about if the levy, we'll have to cut these things. If the levy passes, these things could possibly come back. These things over here, though, are still cut regardless. So we have 2 frying pans.
And if in September we have a lot of students show up, that's great. And we try to bring people back at that point. It's not ideal because a lot of people have already found other jobs, but we can't commit until we know. And one thing too, the state didn't really help us out as far as school district funding this year. And one thing that's really unfortunate is they made cuts to the TK funding.
1/3 of the funding was cut.
Yeah, So
Which-
right now,
Would that mean, would that eliminate TK for us?
so we don't know yet. So the state made that cut
It's not
to the
just a
overall
cut,
funding.
then there's other guidelines
Yeah.
regarding.
So this year, they limited us to 10 slots, and that's what we really needed to be able to have the program. So I was talking to Lori McLeod up at the ESD and said, okay, are they just gonna limit us to even fewer slots, which would endanger our program anyway? And she said, we don't know yet. OSPI is looking at it, and she's thinking that it's possible they may do some sort of new formula where they look at things like your poverty levels in your community. Also, if there's like childcare deserts, which we don't have because we do have an ECAP program here. And then also the Soxhawtla tribe has an ECAP program. So it could be that we get nothing for TK, or it could be that we get some reduced amount, but then we'll have to talk about, can we actually run the program at that reduced amount? So we're waiting to hear that from OSPI. So just a lot happening right now, but we're getting started. Like I said, the enrollment estimate is the first step.
And my concern with TK, when I first heard the new regulations surrounding it, is it sounds like it's going to all be based on the family's income, which is not the original intent of TK. You know, it was to provide a preschool program for families that had no other options. And we already have our ECAP program that provides preschool for families that of a certain financial level, but we don't have preschool available for student or for families above a certain income. And so that's really, you know, unfortunate, but we'll have to wait and see what the formula is and where we land with the formula. But I'm concerned about the program.
So that's all I had, and that was really for N and O. And we'll have more information at the April meeting. We'll have the actual minimum education program where we say what we're planning to have as a minimum. Again, not what we want, but the minimum that we would need for next year. And to have that approved by the board before the official RIF notices go out to teachers by May 15th.
And I should know this, but they didn't raise the amount that school districts are getting per kid, right? Like for inflation or anything?
No. And that's what, yeah, they don't, it's, the way they come up with that number is they sort of back into it based on their prototypical school model. So that's really where, if they were going to increase something, if they increase the number of staff units that they give us, but no. It's anything like that.
So we got to vote on the budget in April?
It'll be for the certificated
Certificated,
staff.
yeah,
It's called the minimum education program,
Okay.
which is what we're saying is the bare minimum that we could get by with the hope that we would have more.
And then we would talk to staff after that, or I'll talk to staff after that.
Now, I thought you said staff has to be notified by the 15th, though.
May
Or-
15th.
or May 15th.
Tentative
Not-
notification by April 15th, where that's just
tentative.
us saying, hey, we think you might be RIF'd.
Okay.
And then the official by May 15th, where you actually get the RIF letter.
So I'll work with the DEA union representatives on that, talking with staff. And again, we'll just have to work through the numbers and go from there.
Okay. Any other questions or anything else for kids?
No.
Okay. All right, then we're gonna move on to item P. We're gonna review the school safety procedures.
Yeah, so the safety committee has been working really well together on processing information and listening to staff and improving our protocols that we have in place. We are implementing the I Love You Guys protocols and procedures and the language. We've been using that when we've had to have holds in the hallways, or like today we had our lockdown drill. And so we use the language that they suggest. We also, in your packet, are 2 pieces of information. One is a little poster in an emergency that we've used to post up in the classroom as a quick reminder to teachers and staff on what we need to do in a hold or what we need to do in a lockdown and what students should be doing. And then just a little pocket guide that we gave to every staff member last week, I believe. So they have that same language and what it means and what needs to happen. And today, for the lockdown, got on the PA system, the radios, and communicated that we were going into a lockdown system. One of the issues with the lockdown is, students might be in the hallway, they might be in the office, they might be in the bathroom. What happens? How does the teacher know then where is my student? And so we're using, and it's not perfect, we have some glitches, but a spreadsheet that we use for reunification, and teachers are able to go in and mark who is in their classroom, or a para that has a group can go in there and say where that student is located. And the students are in there by grade level and then alphabetical order. So that way the secretaries can go in and see where students are. We had a student in the office during the lockdown. We go in and we put that they're in the office so that teacher knows. Now, the situation will be for substitutes.
Okay.
And that is something we're trying to figure out on how do we bypass that issue.
Thank you.
It may be that the secretaries text you because they have all your numbers but that won't work for some of them as well. So that is something that we have to work. And that's more for everyone's peace of mind of where a student is and knowing if we need to go during a lockdown. We can't really go search for a student, but knowing who is at least where in one of those situations. So we just did that today. I've asked staff to communicate with both building principals, secretaries, if they have any suggestions, little glitches they noticed that occurred, so that we can get that onto a document. And then we have a safety committee meeting next week, and we will be reviewing that and trying to answer those harder questions on what do we do, reaching out to schools. What do you do when you have a lockdown? How do you take care of the attendance issue? Also, I met today with an organization, along with Tony Kernigan, our transportation lead, looking at reunification sites in our community, where if we needed to leave our campus and go somewhere else for a reunification with families, where could that be? We've talked about it for a long time. So we went and visited a site and talked through just the location and what might work the best. And so we do have that as an option if we need to go offsite for a reunification. We have the other site that we've used already, and I'm also meeting with another organization next week on a different site that we could possibly use if we need a reunification site. So we'd have at least 3 reunification sites that if we need it, we can then enact on those sites. So actually we'll have 4 because we have another site that we would, is a possibility. And again, we don't really discuss where the reunification sites are because we want to wait until we know what site will best fit for that incident, and then communicate it out to families once students are secure in that location, so that we're able to get students where they need to be, then notify families where to meet us. So that was really nice to meet today and get those kind of places more solidified on where they would be. Our document is changing all the time, so I go in and make updates to that document. It's a Google document. I'll be printing it out to go over with the committee in pieces as we move through with the safety committee. Any questions on safety?
I know we talked about it a couple meetings ago, but weren't we looking at like an app for like notification to families? I know financially some of them are expensive, but.
Well, actually, we are looking at we've moved ahead with a new website. I should put that in my superintendent report, sorry. A lot of things, a new website design that also will have the possibility that if we went into a lockdown situation with basically one platform, we can notify through an app, notify through the website, notify through email, notify through a text message, and notify through a phone message, all in one click, basically, well, a couple clicks, but all in one platform, so that, we've heard in the past also, I think a student spoke about being notified when there's a school closure or a late start. This is one of those situations where it doesn't just go to the parent email. If they download the app, it would pop up on their app. It would pop up in their text messages as well, email as well, all of those sites. But clearer, faster communication with our families on what is happening.
I didn't even think about it with late start. Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, late start, snow days. If we, in the past, we've had to have early releases when there's been flooding or blizzard type conditions. So, listening to the community about the communication, especially after the bomb threat, I felt we needed to upgrade our communication system. It's so outdated, and we're unable to really communicate quickly and efficiently with our families in those situations, and this will take care of it.
That's exciting.
We'll be able to have events on our website that continually update, news feeds that will continually update. And again, those will be pushed out through an app for whoever wants to have the app on their phone. So it's, quicker, more effective in communicating. And if they don't want to have the app, then again, the parents would get a text message if it was an emergency situation. So different modalities, yeah.
Well, that's exciting. I'll download the app. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Q, gifts to the district.
All right, so on page 67, we had an anonymous donation for fifth grade camp in the amount of $2,000. And then we had John Allen donated $5,000 to the school to use teachers can submit to the principals if they have a project or something they want to have funded. And so that is sitting in a special pot for special events. Looking at putting a bench out. There's benches out in the high school, but maybe upgrading those benches with student-made benches for maybe a donation bench where people who donate could have their name, a plaque put on it. So we're in the process of talking to someone who might be able to make that happen.
Thank you, John.
So, thank you. So we need a motion to accept.
And I will make that motion to accept those gifts.
I'll second. All right. Any? Yes, perfect, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you all so much. And anonymous, thank you too. Fifth grade camp's always fun. Okay, we are on agreements and contracts.
Okay, on page 68, you'll see that I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry, yeah.
There are a lot on page 68, a lot of agreements that we have with like Snohomish County Detention Center, different organizations. There's only if we use the facility do we have to pay or to be determined. Some of these do not have a cost or a maximum amount, but it's more of an agreement. So any questions on those?
Any questions?
And the one for West Ridge Energy where it has the cost per square foot, that is funded by a grant.
That's a grant. Oh, okay. Again, looking at energy efficiency.
Motion to approve. All right, I got a motion. Anyone want a second? All right, second. Student reps?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right. I don't think we have any personnel action items, did we?
We do.
Oh, we have one. Nope. Oh,
Yes.
so tiny.
I know, it's way at the top.
Okay.
SB Frank.
Yeah. Okay. I guess.
So, yeah, Ray, took over middle school wrestling. So we have to approve that and correct.
Sure. I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Student reps?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, public comments on non-agenda items. Tracy or Mackenzie, will someone be the timer?
I will be the timer.
Perfect.
Ugh.
All right, oh, sorry. No, you're good. Okay, we have 5. All right, if you have spoken already, you all know the rules. It is 3 minutes. We're semi-strict about that. And up first is Bridget.
Well, I'm always known to push the limits on rules, so I'm having my assistants.
Oh, wow. All right.
I want to be someplace, one, where the owl can see my little poster, and then also Bailey is,
That's great right there. And if you, Bridget, if you stand next to them when you're talking, the owl will stay on you.
but I'll let these guys introduce themselves.
Billy's going, I'm out.
Hey,
Oh.
my name is Bailey Rumsey. Sorry, I haven't talked in front of a lot of people in a long time, but I graduated from Darrington High School in 2015. So it's really nice to see a lot of faces, whether it's certificated staff, or neighbors, or people that have been my teachers, classmates. It's just really nice to be home and see familiar faces. But I'm going to be the eyes and the ears for the community center board whenever I come to the meetings. I used to serve on the board. I'm really invested in our community, and I'm really glad to be home and to be able to be working at the Forest Service in a position where I can serve. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. It should be really fun to be involved in the school and to get to see all you guys.
My name is Brooke. I moved to Darrington off and on about 2021, working for the Forest Service as a seasonal, and then I got a full-time job there. Now I live here permanently, and this is my second full-time year here, and I'm really happy to be a part of this community, and I hope to get more involved.
Okay, so I'm cheating. These two are also listed.
I see that. I just saw, yep. And they
Yeah,
cede their
I
time
am
to
cheating.
Bridget.
Okay, comment on the sheriff. It was, somebody gave it to me. I went to Western Michigan, not to Michigan. But anyways, so I met with some people. The levy really hits me in a lot of places. I really care for this town. You guys have heard me here at every school meeting now. I don't know how many times. I love the town. I love the people, and I know we can come together. I know we can get past this hurdle that we have with times being tough. I get that, they're tough for everybody. But I met with a few women who I respect a lot, and as we were talking about the levy, I realized we really don't understand levies. So what I decided to do is to create, and you can all get class credit for this. It's Levy 101, and it's to kind of go over, and these guys had no idea. This is me doing this myself. I can be corrected, but this was my understanding of what happens with the levy. So, these guys are good. School decides on a budget. So for instance, what we just voted on, the budget that they were deciding that they had to fill was going to be for 27, some number, 28, some number, and then 29 and 30, some number. It is odd number, one number. That number doesn't change. Once we vote on it and we agree to that number, that is the amount of money the
the school can collect, period. Doesn't matter if your price is, whoops, I forgot. Ask me a question. We're supposed to make it interactive.
Bridget, what happens if the value of my house goes up?
Now there are some mysterious things that happen there, but if the cost of your house goes up, this is a myth. The school does not collect more money. I'm gonna ask you all, what did I tell you for 2027? It's going to be that number that you voted on and that you agreed to. If your home goes up in price, these guys don't get a windfall. That's all we get is that number. So this is for you guys at home watching. What if property values increase? School gets only what we voted on. Again, only what you voted on. That's so important to get across. When you guys are talking to people about the levy, please just try and get them to actually understand that the school is not getting more money. All right? So, what I did is back in October, all of us get an assessment for our homes. If you own property, I realize some of you are renting, but you'll get an assessment. This is my own property. My property is valued at $448,600 in today's market. It's ridiculous, but that's what prices are back here. So for the school, for the for this year, 2026, for the school, the levy rate is $1.29 per $1,000 that your property is valued at. Okay, my property is valued at $448,600. For every $1,000, I'm going to pay $1.29. So, I guess I didn't do the math.
Wait, keep going.
I did? Oh, no. Sorry.
Okay, you're down to 3 minutes.
3 minutes, here we go. So, if you can even do it on your phone. I divided this by 1,000. So I moved the decimal point 1, 2, 3, that's 448.6. You can do it on your phone, multiply it by 1.29. It's gonna come out to $578. I'll tell you that right now. But the school was promised a certain amount of money this year that we had agreed to 4 years ago, and that came out to $580 on my tax bill. Okay? We can go to the next page. What if we were to ask for a 10-cent increase? How much is that going to affect you personally? Well, for me, it's going to vary because everybody's properties are valued differently. But for me, a 10-cent increase means I move the decimal over one more place back here, and it's $44.86 if it was going to go up for that year. Can I afford that? For me, it's about a cup of coffee. Well, yes, it's about a cup of coffee per month for me to afford a 10-cent increase in that levy rate. I know we all can't afford it. What I am going to ask, though, is people come with the idea of, I can afford some, but I can't afford that, and let's get to a point. We can't stay at where the levy's at, I'll be honest right now. You've got increases in everything, gas prices, people getting higher wages. That only means your buying power is less. So we have to come together to these meetings. Please come and please bring your ideas. Those of you who think I'm blowing smoke, I'm not. This is how transparent this Snohomish County is. Here's another plug for government. Scopy. Go ahead on your phone and Google Scopy, and you'll come up with an interactive online map. And it stands for Snohomish County Online Property Information. I could sit there and find out everybody's property taxes in this room. It's leveled out to what you pay for each thing, for the hospital, for the school, blah, blah, blah. It's all there. It's all transparent. Now you know, I challenge you to go out and inform yourself. So, please join us in trying to make something good happen in this town again. Thank you.
Oh, Murray? Yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah, Mary. Mary Ann Riddell. I'll give you 1 minute more.
Being fair, don't want.
Mary Ann Riddell. I want to talk a little bit about the budget process that you're trying to sort out and levy. And I can only imagine how stressful it must be to be so, unpredictable, for trying to get the best out of every dollar that you collect and having a supportive environment for students. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but in this month's Concrete newspaper, someone, not from our district, but kind of voiced a lot of what we're going through, wrote a really good commentary about the levy process. And I'm just going to read a couple sentences that kind of captures what they went through and what we are going through. Whereas we're supposed to teach every child, but also to fix every family problem that shows up. You're told to be fiscally responsible and yet to stretch every dollar. But don't talk about the salaries needed to keep good people here. Explain budgets in a way that won't offend anyone. Celebrate every penny spent, but never complain when the list of needs keeps growing. You need to show outcomes, but also explain away the context that made those outcomes harder to reach. You need to be flexible with students' trauma, but also uphold standards. We get questions, social media rants, hand-wringing at school board meetings. I just want to say that there's been a lot of recent negativity, it seems like, that I think there's misunderstandings and misperceptions, and it's a real danger to see that spreading, where I think it's just unrealistic to think that it's so black and white, whether or not you would pass a levy or not, that it would have minimal impact except how you vote. But it has a significant impact on our children, and I would hope that we consider a reduced amount, but not so far low that, at the current level, but maybe a little bit more to get some support for a counselor for some of the needs that we've been hearing about to help reduce classroom disruption, students' emotional struggles that everybody doesn't have time to do in their classroom, as well as, help the students. That's what I got.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary. Okay. Mikey.
She could have had a couple more minutes because I just have a short thing. I would like to ask about putting Nancy Snyder's name on the ball fields, honoring Nancy Snyder. And also under her name, we could put Sue Howard, because she's put a lot of time into this school too. But Nancy's put 50 years into our school district. She also is honored in a lot of baseball stuff. But anyway, I think that would be okay. Another thing, I was talking to Sue Howard about it, and she said that the coaches union would like to pay for a plaque to do that. So
They suggested it at her funeral.
yeah. So anyway, maybe we could look into that somehow. If I can help in any way, let me know.
Great idea.
All right, thank you, Maggie. All right, that's it for public comments. Now I gotta find the agenda again. I think that was.
Superintendent comments.
Superintendent comments.
All right, thank you for the input, and I will be putting the letter out tomorrow regarding when we're having our budget meetings, or our first budget meetings. We will continue to have levy meetings throughout the spring, trying to get input from the community on what they think we should run the levy at. And again, being transparent, the 950,000 it's at right now, we will be in a deficit at that rate anyway. So that's something that we need to have a conversation about. We heard you, or heard the community loud and clear, that the rate we first asked for was too much. But again, I think having a lot of meetings to talk about where would be a compromise that would fit the needs and fill the needs of our students, while not hitting the public so hard. It's going to be important that everyone communicates their thoughts and their ideas. Sometimes we only hear from a certain few, and I think it's really important that people have a voice. And so having a variety of locations, times, and places for these meetings will be on the agenda, or not the agenda, on the calendar that will be shared out on our new website. It will be really clear. Also through paper, we'll be communicating those meetings out in a paper format as we move forward with the levy discussion.
I have one more little comment. We need to look at these children, because you know what? I think we really need to train them to get them, because they're going to be leaving our country. And we need some professional people in there, I'm telling you. We go into that one.
Yes.
All right, board comments.
Thank you, everyone, for the continued involvement. I've said it before, but it's just so great to have people actually showing up and hearing and giving us input. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd like to say, John, thank you for your donation.
Oh,
But more so, thank you for your time coming to the school and coming to the classrooms and being with these kids. We could use like 30 or 40 more Johns in this school, because that's how we make differences. The kids see that.
Can I speak to that?
Yes.
For 3 hours yesterday, I got to be a second grader. And really, the whole reason I started to get involved in this was because of the school levy. I'm an old guy. I kind of like to know where my money goes. So I thought, well, gee whiz, wouldn't it be an idea to start sitting in classes, just a fly on the wall, to see what's going on? And it's been an education in more ways than one, let me tell you. While I got to be a second grader, and Ms. McKinley was reading a story as part of phonics about a farmer and his family a long time ago. They had a root cellar. Root cellar. You call it a refrigerator now, but what do you think a root cellar was? And this very sharp young man raised his hand and said, "Oh, a root cellar is somebody who sells roots." And I almost fell off my chair. It has been a great project for me. And I intend to do it until the end of the school year. I want to sit in every class. I want to meet every teacher. I don't have children myself, but
Now you do. You got a bunch of them.
it seems that when I put my little things on the Darrington Reader Board, it's amazing. There's like 150 people, thumbs up, little hearts, and the people that actually write something down, everything's positive. Not a single bit of input has been negative. And in my post, I try to put in this little idea that if I can do that to support your children, of which I have none, I do it just so I can get back in touch with my child's sense of wonder in the world that is constantly beating out of us to remember what that was when I was that old and how much the world was an amazing place to be. Thank you for allowing me to share that. I get that back from your children. And every single person in this room can do the same thing. Oh, but I don't have. Oh, but I don't have this. Really? You don't? You can't take an hour out of your busy monthly schedule just to sit in on a class? Not one that your own kids are in, because that gets a little weird. But just to see what's going on, to meet the teachers, to get in touch with your educators, the principals, the superintendents, know who these people are. I've gotten to the point now, I'm almost a folk hero. All people in the IGA come up to me. You're that guy, aren't you? Yeah, I guess I am, but it's an honor. If I can do it, anyone can do it. It's part of being involved in your community, being part of your school, being a part of your children's life for more than just a couple hours a day because, oh, I gotta go to work, and I gotta do this, blah, blah, blah. Kids come home, I give them a TV dinner, sit in front of them. If you're gonna take there is a responsibility of a parent.
John,
Yeah.
we appreciate you coming into the school. And what happens if you try to come in without checking in at the office? You get chased down the hallway. So we take our, you can amend that, we take our, I know. I'm like, who just came in the door? No one came in the office, so we had to follow them down the hallway. So we take our safety seriously and no one comes through the front door and gets by the front office. So thank you, John. Thank you. We did carry those on.
I love it.
I am perfectly happy to leave it where John put it.
No, I'm good. I was, yeah, I'll talk about it next time. Perfect, all right, I think we are adjourned at 8:02. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
That's cool.